participants, welcome back. Make some noise for the first panel of the conference, welcoming you to the Wonder Woman NFT panel.
Oh, wow.
This is such a beautiful moment here because women are here to be well represented in Web3. So we're extremely excited and honored to have such powerful individuals bless us on this stage today. Thank you for those that are tuning with us online and joining us live as well. And I'm going to go ahead and let these women introduce themselves. And so I will take it away with Megan.
Hello, it's so great to be here. It's such an honor to be here representing women in this space. My name is Megan Nilsson. I go by Crypto Megan. I am a high-end NFT and crypto portfolio consultant for large companies, entrepreneurs, investors, and celebrities. And recently, I've launched social media, Instagram, YouTube, so that I can take that knowledge and not just give it to those at the top, but share it with everybody. Because I believe that that's how it should be. And so my mission is to educate, provide quality, entertaining information that newcomers can trust. So that's a little bit about what I'm doing.
Thank you, Megan. Next.
Okay. Hello. I'm very excited to be here. Quite a crowd. Really nice to see you all. My name is Tanja Bivic Plankar. I come from Slovenia. And I was a little girl that was dreaming about becoming an astronaut like 40 years ago, a little bit more. And ended up in social studies, in social work, then in media, and when DAO hack in 2016 ruined my family vacations, then I ended up also in the blockchain sphere. Since then, I worked for several different also projects, ICOs, some of them sitting also here, so a lot of pressure. And now I'm also president of the Blockchain Alliance Europe, where we were founded in 2018. We are dealing with companies that are here in the blockchain space, that are blockchain technology providers, or those that are, have blockchain technology solutions, or otherwise engaged and interested in all the blockchain ecosystem. So this in short.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Tanja. Aleksa?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aleksa Mil, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here and discuss a topic as women inclusion in Web3, in NFT environment. I have a bachelor in law, but I've been working in tech industry and operational roles for several years. And currently, I'm managing director at WACEO, a DAO-focused nonprofit organization that aims to help blockchain-based projects get structured compliantly and to support the environment in its further scalability and growth and regulatory development.
Thank you, Aleksa. And last, but certainly not least, we have Anna.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure really to be here. My name is Anna Nives-Radovic. I'm a fine artist and a fintech analyst. And currently, I'm working as the marketing director of Tesla crypto mining company. Also, I'm the founder of Fintech Online Center. Over the past decade, actually a month ago, I celebrated, so to say, a month ago, I celebrated a decade in crypto, and so far I published 3 handbooks because I really love the philosophy of crypto, and so it's very connected with fine arts. It's very connected with something that really has to grow in a way that we really want the society to be in the future. So it's really a pleasure to be here with this in this beautiful conference with these amazing women, and I hope we'll have an interesting discussion for you.
Thank you. So let's give it up a round of applause for a really warm welcome for all of these women here. Apart from being your hostess with the mostest in the Tomorrow Conference, my name is Diana Ko, and I've been capital raising for the last 14 years, 7 of which being on Wall Street, raised nearly $200 million in pre-seed and seed funding. And so what my company provides is sourcing out startup opportunities to VCs, to private equities, because we're in this interesting stage right now where a lot of VCs aren't interested in participating in Web3, in the Metaverse. And now we have an opportunity on this large platform with all of us cohesively to really, really make a loud difference and say, hey, listen, we're here to stay, we're not going anywhere, and I'm just so honored to be sharing this stage with all of these beautiful women. And it's rare. It's rare because when you look at any company, it's a majority of men. I'm sitting on this stage right now, and I'm looking at all of you beautiful and handsome people. It's a majority of men. And so we need to shift the conversation, and we have to raise that awareness that in order to build an incredible market space and a sustainable future for all of our tomorrows, we have to do it collectively. So I'm going to pass this question to you, Megan. Why do you think there aren't a lot of women going into entrepreneurship? Let's start with that.
Yeah, there's so much I would like to talk about regarding that subject. And also, I think for me to properly explain what I think about that, it's good to touch on some background about how I started. I got really interested in investing and alternate ways to do things. And, you know, nothing really kind of caught my eye. I listened to hundreds, thousands of hours of audio listening about investing, about traditional finance. And one day I heard something about crypto and about Bitcoin. And it just kind of like, it was like that moment of, wow, that just clicked for me. And I never turned back. And so now I'm doing like 10 to 12 hours a day studying. And it's my passion and I love it. So I took that passion and I made it into a full-time career. And the way that I was able to kind of like take my space in this place is by building a community and trust and showing people that I'm here to stay and putting myself out there, which I think could be a really intimidating thing. And I think a lot of women are largely intimidated, obviously, by how male-dominated the space is. You know, a lot of them are very supportive of women entering, but it's just a big barrier to entry right now. In Web3 in general. So I would say the way that I was able to kind of penetrate that space is just by taking my place and saying what I had to say. And I started giving monthly lectures to the community. And through there, I was able to establish connections and network. And through other women and the support of all of these amazing women, we were able to start making, you know, progress. And so I started my consulting company. And that is really funny because a lot of it is for, well, large companies, CEOs who are all males. Some are Harvard graduates. And they're so successful in the traditional finance world, but they don't know anything about this space. So the power dynamic there, it can be really interesting because they're thinking, wow, a woman is going to teach me about how to do this. But it's been cool. And so through that lens, I've been able to have these experiences and take them and share them with other women to give them the confidence to take their passion and take their space and just to speak up and get involved. So now they're the wives of many of these people I consult for. They tell me, no, that's for my husband. He does the finances. He does tech. I don't understand. And when I break it down for them and I kind of explain it to them in a way that's not so intimidating, which the space can be, you see their face light up. Like, wow, it's so empowering. So from then on, I decided I need to advocate for women because they're going to be a big, large part of mass adoption, and they're going to give that different perspective on things. So.
I love that. And I think the whole common theme that you just solidified here, Megan, is ownership.
Yeah.
Ownership in a different capacity, right? And so I love that that's how we segued into, you know, a Wonderwoman panel. And so Tanja, there's a lot of things that I can cover with you because you're just an absolutely brilliant mind. But I would like to talk about funding and funding for women. Why do you think that there is such a limit when it comes to us, or, you know, non-existent?
Well, the researchers say that the gender gap in funding is so wide that we would need 202 years to cover it if we don't take any coordinated action. I think that the answer to this question is very simple. If we want more women funded, we need more women at the decision-making positions. We need more women VCs. Right now, the situation is not brilliant. There are 20% women sitting in boardrooms that actually have the power to decide about the funding. So what we need is coordinated action. And one thing that is happening here in Europe on the March of 8th, the Declaration for Women and Entrepreneurship and Innovation was signed by all the member states, and there is also an action plan. And I know some of you will think, okay, there's just another declaration, who the hell, gives something about it? But it is important. I am not a big fan of quotas. I'm not a big fan of such panels because I think we all have to approach to problems of our society as a society, not just gender bias. But what I wanted to say, if we don't have such declarations, we found ourselves in deadlock and nothing happens. If we don't have such panels, we don't shift anything. And what I think it's wonderful to see today, we had yesterday one event in Slovenia that was named Women in Digital, and those attendees were only women. Sorry, we cannot discuss this just among ourselves. We need also men to listen, to see what the problem is, to empower us to have an equal society. And sorry, blockchain is about democracy and about being equal, about empowering the individuals, to own their own data, their own finances, and so on. So what we want to own is our lives and a possibility to be entrepreneurs.
Love it. You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for that, Tanja. And for those that want to continue this conversation with us virtually, please be sure to use the hashtag #TomorrowConference. And I want to shift it over to you, Aleksa. So, Tanja really did a deep dive into funding. Now, from a VC perspective, what do you think would attract, VCs, or how could we be more represented when we approach, investors as women?
Well, I think to begin with, there needs to be more women in the space, right? So that would be the first step. And the reason why there aren't enough women in the space is, I think it comes from the history and how society actually views women, right? Like, furthermore, then you have very common cases and reasons why there are no women represented. So we can start with the education gap with the degree gap, the employment gap, generally the workspace culture, and how companies actually see whether the equality for them is relevant in the office or no, and how the male-dominated space actually does treat women in that environment. Further, there is also retention gap. Right? So what does actually make a woman stay and want to keep working at the company? How do her managers are treating her? How do her coworkers treat her? Right? So those are all the important factors that we need to look at before actually thinking, okay, so how do we get more women in the VC space and more women represented? First, we have to get them into the space and make them feel empowered to actually want to stay here. For example, I was looking for operations assistant, with the company a few weeks ago, and I put an ad, and I had around 70 candidates applying for the role.
Wow.
And out of them more than 50 were men. Right? And then I was like, well, since we're actually trying to get more women involved in Web3, then I was like, okay, now I'm going to try an experiment. So I used the same ad, but I added a sentence that the advantage is given to women. So then I got around more or less 55 candidates, but less than 15 were men. Like the rest were women. Right? So and then I realized that you actually have to empower women and tell them, hey, it's okay if you come and work here, right? So we're going to look at you as a person, as an employee, not as a woman or a man, because generally there is an obvious gender gap in our workplaces in a variety of industries. But the fact is that the presence of women in tech, and especially in blockchain, is a lot lower than any other industries.
Yep.
So that is the core problem one needs to solve, right? So you can actually have more women wanting to be entrepreneurs, to be the founders, to go and pitch, to have the desire, okay, so this is what I can do, right? Like, well, I just need a bit of money and your support, right? So when a man goes, it goes like pretty easily for them, right? Because there is that stereotype that the man is handling the money, while women do what, right? So, well, they're not that good with money, right? They're not that good at tech. Like, why would we give her money? Right, so there is like a stereotype that I'm not saying like everyone is an absolute subject to it, but it's a kind of a prejudice that we all are brought up with, right? So when you look at the television, when you look at any other places, right, the first thing you see is the man is empowered while the woman is being empowered by a man, not by other women or by other stakeholders, right? So I think like that mentality actually has to change first. So you have a better representation going further.
That is really, really, really powerful. Thank you for that, Aleksa. And she really brings up a number of things here. And we're in this space where women still feel like you have to ask permission to have a seat at the table. When in reality, and quote me on this, when in reality, a woman doesn't have to ask a seat at the table because she can just bring the whole damn table herself. So I'm going to pass this on to you, Anna, because Aleksa said, some entry points, right? And so what are some suggestions with entry points into attracting VCs, funders, even consumers, into more women-based projects?
Well, first of all, you have to convince them that you're just not attracting them just because you're a woman, just because you're a female, but because you give some value. So you just have to show how valuable you are. Just promoting the things the way they just having something in some kind of group, in some kind of category, like female business. Like we have seen for more than 2 decades, especially when the digitalization and technological revolution has started to develop, we have seen the position of female in digital industry. We have seen over the past 13 years, we have seen the increasing number of women in crypto. It's the higher than when it comes to, for example, in crypto than when it compares to any other industry, for example, because the period is really short and more women are engaging each year. But it's not just because somebody is promoting it because as a female business, as something like that, as a female entrepreneurship, because the strategies are somehow, at some point, those strategies, especially when they come from the decision makers, when they come from the governments and so on, they look like somebody has some kind of sympathy and is promoting some group that has no other way to succeed unless they're stimulated and so on. On other hand, there are plenty of very talented women, plenty of women who really can bring some value, who can share some very amazing idea, who can create a very valuable products, services, whatever, and they're just kind of, they just dislike to step in that kind of environment. They are just valuable because of being a woman. I have met plenty of women worldwide, especially in fintech industries, where they just avoid being a part of kind of a female group as such. And that's where the decision makers, especially in some governments who just overnight decided, okay, let's do something because it's popular. Maybe some governments decided because they will get votes. Maybe some of them just see okay, I want female votes, so let's just talk about female entrepreneurship. It's a very popular topic. It's especially in technological industry, especially in crypto, especially in NFTs. But if you just promote and if you just stimulate somebody because if you really explain to the broader audience, to the broad population, that you're just doing to somebody just because she is a woman, then the rest of the women who just dislike that kind of treatment are discouraged. So seeing the value, first of all, the information about everything they have to know to succeed on the market, just provide them like that, and don't just show anything. Like if you're decision makers, just don't do it for women who see that you are just kind of protecting them, and that those women are actually feeling that you are giving some help instead of giving support, because there's really a different feeling, a different kind of stimulation for a woman like any other person in the world if you feel that you are stimulated, and if you feel that you are just being helped to do something. Like, okay, do it because you're a woman. We need a woman because we want diversity in our board. We need a woman like this. We need a woman because we want to show that we are doing things like this. So avoid that kind of strategy. Avoid these kinds, because women, that's really discouraging, and that makes women really feel miserable. So just appreciate anybody's values. So just stop with generalization, and stop with treating women differently.
Wow. Okay, just please, for a round of, for all of these women here, that was incredible. There's a lot of profound things that are being shared and said. And look, I know there's a lot of parents in this room. I'm a mother of a daughter. And so for me to build a future, there has to be more women representation. So I'm going to take a moment here and have this open discussion in saying, what would you women, powerful women, say to all of the women that are out there that are perhaps hesitant in taking that step forward, that are scared to ask for a seat at the table, that are, slow to making a decision because they don't think that they have value or worthy enough? What would you say to your inner child, to the future females that are going to be our thought leaders, that are going to be the ones that are going to shape better tomorrows for us? So I'd love to have an open discussion and see what, what your thoughts are. Anyone can take it away.
I mean, I would say, they shouldn't ask for the seat at the table. They just need to take it, right? Like, one should be aware of their qualities, right? Like, one should see others just for qualities, skills, knowledge, experience they have, and they should see themselves as such, right? So if we see ourselves, well, I'm a woman, therefore I have less possibility to succeed than a man, right? Like, of course, if you go in with a prejudice, right, it gets a lot more difficult. But women should stop comparing to men just because they're women, and just go get it and do it.
Absolutely, I agree. Tanja, could you chime in?
Yeah, I would like to address that we as women have many roles. Mothers, caregivers, also entrepreneurs, and so on. And it is very important that we find the inclusive environment that understands all of our roles, that understands that the job cannot be just done from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 or whatever.
No chance.
But you know that the job has to be done in our own time. And this is something that as entrepreneurs and also this is something that we have to consider, because this is the future. We should involve, as you said, in so many different levels, and this is important. And one other thing is also that we need more role models.
Yes.
We need more women inspiring other women, and the other thing that we need also not to sell us short in terms of knowledge and education and so on. Because I see a lot of times women are saying, well, I'm working digital blockchain, wherever, tech, but I did not study that as my, I don't come from that area. But we have different types of education. We have formal, informal, we go by the levels, and also we go wider. That's why I started with that. I was a girl that wanted to be an astronaut, and then I was everything else, and then I ended in digital. So don't sell yourself short. You have the knowledge and you have the passion. You will have the knowledge.
Thank you, Tanja. And I'm going to let Megan chime in, but I'm going to put you on spot. Megan, can you stand up and show your Wonder Woman outfit?
Hey,
She told us in the back, she's like, I wore this because it's a cape, because it's a Wonder Woman panel. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to highlight that.
Yeah, no, I did wear this in honor of this, this honor that we have of representing women in Web3. But I wanted to touch on one point in that, Web3 knows no gender, it knows no race, it knows nothing like that. If you have the knowledge and the passion and most of all value, which is what these other women have been speaking out to add to this space, there is a place for you. And so I guess the answer to getting more women involved, or if you're thinking about should I do it, or I'm afraid of what people will think, or should I ask? No, don't ask. You take your space, you stand up, you go out there. There's no time to waste. We are new. This is so early, and we're shaping the future, literally. We're creating the narrative right now. And there's no time to waste wondering whether or not there's a space for you, because if you provide value, there always will be. And another thing I wanted to touch on is I think that women, they connect more to these in-person events. It's how they got involved in Web 2, actually. Social media, Facebook, the tech there is what inspired that. So I think us having this platform, speaking about it, encouraging it. One other thing I'd like to say to maybe connect with more males in the audience is I've been involved as a member of Bored Ape Yacht Club from the very beginning, pretty much from a long time back. And, I was in the chat and it was like, bro, homie, dude. And it was fine, but I realized there how few women there were. And so I've seen the space evolve as we've gone forward, and the men, you men, play actually a critical role in that, in spreading that narrative and supporting the women when they're providing value and giving them that space and getting the women involved in your life. So now I'm in 2 private chats on Twitter. For example, one is called Bluminati, which is why I have blue nails today, because I'm very
That's good branding.
Yeah, and it's a secret group for people involved in World of Women, which I'm also involved in, which is to empower women, to give them a safe space, diversification. Yam, she's just an incredible founder. And in that group is Reese Witherspoon's production company, Hello Sunshine.
Wow.
And it's only about 30 people, but they're also working on spreading this narrative. And one of my favorite chats is called Bored Ape Ladies. There aren't many people in the Bored Ape Yacht Club who are women, but we've found them all. We've gathered this platform, and it is so cool. I mean, the idea is there. It's just cool to see the different perspectives.
You gave us insight scoop.
Yeah, so we got the alpha going on. So yeah, I think the secret to all of this is believing in yourself and just going for it.
Thank you, Megan.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I see Anna's face. She's like, oh my God, that was great.
No, actually, I'm just listening to just not to repeat, because I could confirm that I completely agree with what the other ladies just said. But what's my message to my inner child, for example, any little girl today who's thinking about her future would just be, I would just say, take risks. If it wouldn't be easier said than done, because we all know how everybody actually who is talking about going to the market, about entrepreneurship, about new trends and so on, is going, believe in yourself and take risks. But it's really a different, it's actually a very, very complex, and it's really a different field of, actually different area of emotions than those who we have to, that we have to have and that we have to adopt while creating something and showing into the market. Like Tanja just said, my story is pretty similar, because as a very young child, I wanted to be something completely different, that I started studying, started learning, and started building my career on. So you never know what will start, well, actually, for which education, for which occupation, for which industry, for which role in your life you're preparing. But you have to be as close as possible to something that you feel is very comfortable for you doing. I'm a visual artist. I'm a fine artist who has built her career in economics and finance. During the whole that process, blockchain technology and crypto, and at the end NFTs has emerged, and at the beginning, I was actually right in choosing the profession. Almost 20 years ago, I have chosen the profession that didn't exist at that time, but now it is. It's NFTs. It's something like creating something and sharing the value in the sharing economy, in the economy of exchanging idea, and in the economy where there is more justice than there is on the global market, and it was, let's say, a decade ago because the crypto and the blockchain were invented. So you have just to follow your feeling. Just avoid the things and don't be just shaped in those like gender categories and whatever. Just think of everything that you can do as a person, not as a male and a woman or any other gender, because we know today people are talking about dozens of other gender groups that's accepted and people can feel it that way. So don't just belong to any stereotypes. If somebody say that women are likely to take risks for any reason, just don't think, okay, I won't risk because I'm a woman. So take risks, but don't take risks because somebody has told you to do so, but because you feel that doing something that is close to your heart, close to your emotions, would be the best result in your business.
Wow, wow.
I would just like to address something else, maybe that we didn't touch on. We did a little bit. But this is really great. We will take the action in our hands. And we are empowered and we have everything needed to succeed. But there is something that is called gendered bias. And that is something that is very rooted in our society. I will tell you just a short story that I heard yesterday.
Please.
There was an audition for musicians for some big philharmonics in the US of A at the turn of the century, when then the female musicians also came there. And they said that they don't want to take any women because they don't really fit in their artistic idea of music. So, yeah. And then somehow they still decided to audition women and to have some females. And the end result was they still hired men. But why? They discovered when the musician approached on the audition, they knew by the walk, sorry, I forgot to tell you, they did blind auditions and they still chose men. And as I said, they knew by the walk when somebody was walking if it's male or female, because yes, women usually tend at that time to wear heels. And what they did, they put there a carpet, and then they chose women, and then they chose also men to be musicians there. So you see how much this is rooted. We in the first few seconds, you're from marketing, you know how first we make the impressions in the first 3 seconds about somebody. You don't even open your mouth, and everybody has, you know, they have an idea who you are and what do you do. How we're going to overcome that? We have to think about what is that carpet that we're going to lay on the floor so we can overcome those gender biases as a society to be more inclusive.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think crypto and NFT space can be very exclusionary, like in itself, and all the lingo and all the stuff you're just expected to enter and just know. And if you don't, then you're cast aside. And there's all these men that are like going around with the jargon, and it can be intimidating. So I think what other thing is important is the education, getting that proper education, helping them understand, and that way they feel more comfortable. Because if you don't start there, it's hard to break into this space the way that we have the bubble has kind of surrounded it. So I think that the education is really important, and it's super cool because actually my mom was the first one to support me in this whole venture. My dad is traditional finance. So he was a little bit reluctant about that. So just the different perspective that I've seen from women in general, I think it starts with education, helping them understand, getting them comfortable, and then giving them a platform to have their voice.
100%, I fully back that. Aleksa, I want to ask you a question. Who has been an influential female role model in your life and why?
Oh, that's a tough one, to be honest. It's like, I couldn't really, to be honest, like I couldn't choose one person. I think we're like more people throughout my life that that I followed, admired, to say like during different stages of life. But I do have to admit that there was like, I wouldn't say there was enough of a female representation that I would look up to, but they were like males, right? And but the difference is like I didn't see that through the gender. I saw that through success. And I think that was like the most relevant factor, and like it should be for everyone. Like both when you have women as your employees, as your coworkers, right? So as a man, you should see them as a coworker, as a colleague, as someone you're working with, as your teammate, not looking at them through as a gender, right? And that is like the very, I think that's an extremely important factor that generally, of course, like it relates to the education and to how society actually looks at women, at men, and especially in tech and blockchain industry. And I mean, the influential women, like I'm not sure about the percentage, right? But if you had a list on one side the men and the other side the women, right? It would be a lot shorter list that you can look up to. Because women in the media are usually not represented as an extremely successful in a sense, like, you know, when it comes to science, when it comes to tech, when it comes to variety of industries, right? You can also always see them like, you know, fashion, marketing, right? Like a successful mother of 5, 10 kids, right? So those are the role models and the stereotypes actually the media is putting out for us out there to actually, well, you know, you should be, because you're a woman, you should be super pretty. You're a woman, you know, go get a bunch of kids, right? But you don't get that as inspired, right? Like, okay, so she's a woman scientist, right? Like, go and see like what she's doing, like be more like her, right? It's more about like the wrong education from the very beginning and not as much access to the successful female stories.
Thank you so much for that. And we have 10 minutes. We're going to wrap this up very soon. But I would like to take 2 questions from anyone in the audience because you have direct access here in real time to such incredible, influential women. And I want to be able to give you guys back value. So if we can have a mic, please. And if someone wants to ask a question, please, by all means, if you want to just raise your hand. Yes, come on up. The mic is going to be right there coming at you.
But it should.
Amazing job. Amazing job, everyone.
Thank you very much. You can listen. Hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Super cool what you're doing. I have the same discussions with my wife often. She's also one of those that you know, don't think you should favor women. You know, women should just get in there, do the job, take their place, all that kind of stuff. And the value. And I like the story with the carpet, where you could actually, you know, people are biased towards choosing men. But I'm thinking about maybe there should be a consideration of what is the unique value that women can bring. You know, if you're not doing like women groups and all this stuff, but what is something, you know, where we can't get it anywhere else? Do you have any takes on that?
Megan, would you like to take this?
Yeah, I can start. Just for starters, I think there are many different things that women can contribute that are different from men, but I don't think it's about what can women bring that's unique to the table. I think it's more about giving the women who do provide value and can provide value but are afraid of stepping up to share that a platform. It's not necessarily different because we're women. It's just there hasn't been such a space created, a safe space feeling for them to step up and feel that they are allowed to be in this male-dominated world. So for me, it's more about giving them the opportunity to contribute those. Actually, I've been told by clients a couple times that they thought, oh, well, since you're a woman, I think you're going to do my portfolio much more thought out and long-term, and maybe men will be more showy and try to show off and like, I don't know. But, you know, those are just anecdotes and stories, but that's my thought.
Thank you. I know that everyone wants to add something here, so I'll let you go down the aisle.
Okay, very interesting question. But I can tell you, if you are a CEO of a company or you are an employer, if you have a mixed team, your profit will rise for 20%. That was proven by the Harvard studies. So this is, I think, the very, very good idea why to employ women. And because you should employ women because they are professionals and they are great in what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I would start by asking a question like, why do you think that there are values that a man can bring, but a woman cannot, and the other way around? Why are we even discussing that? Like, we are human beings. We are all born with different skill sets, with different abilities, right? So why do we look at the two as a gender, not just, two humans? I mean, it's just like a bit, like when you ask that type of questions, you're,
just say it. Say it. Come on, girl, say it.
I mean, it's a fact, right? Like, when you were asked that type of question, I mean, the problem lies with you, like, to be honest, because if you see women as I don't know, a type, a structure, whatever, that brings different set of values and skills than men, well, you're completely, absolutely wrong, right? Like, women is not less or more worthy than a man, another way around, right? I think the issue that why people are asking that question is because you have a lot more men in generally so we are focusing on tech and blockchain industry, right? It's a fact that those two are male-dominated. And what females can bring? Well, I mean, I would say themselves, right? I mean, I think that would be the best answer to it. And like that individual brings their own skill set, their own knowledge, their own experience, and ability to actually aid to the environment, to an industry, and the workspace they're in, right? So those are the values that a woman can bring.
Yes.
I would just agree with Aleksa, because I would just say don't have an expectation that something extraordinary would be brought because somebody is a woman, because if you expect something extraordinary, it's more likely that you will be disappointed if something ordinary happens. But it's not just any woman that brings some value. It's a talented woman, it's a smart woman, it's educated woman compared to uneducated men, untrained men, a man who doesn't have ambition to do something and so on. So just compare people just compare somebody's talent, just compare somebody's willingness to do something, to create the talent, the creativity, the process of thinking, the risk level, and so on, rather than just expecting, okay, these people of the same category would just bring different experience because of their gender and so on. So just when we stop thinking in these, when we just get rid of these gender groups and have some expectations based on some gender groups, at that moment we will continue developing everything that we start right now with some promoting the value rather than promoting somebody because belongs to any kind of group, not just the gender, but any kind. It just doesn't have to be at that place because of being something instead of being a smart, talented, hardworking person.
And thank you so much for posing that question. I think it was really important, no matter how raw or uncomfortable it is, because growth is uncomfortable, right? So it's up to us to have these kinds of conversations and have a really great dialogue. So thank you, women, for responding. I know we have one more question here at the front. If we can grab a mic. Okay, so I'll make time for two more questions here. Oh, we have one in the back. Sorry, I promise I'll get to you. Okay.
Thank you. Francesco here. You were talking about female role models before. I was curious about your male peers. Like if they, coming from your personal experience, if they did any actions or something to help you out, to empower you, or maybe it was not an action, just let you be what you wanted to be. Thank you.
I'd like to just touch on that because that was a big part of my rise in this my journey in this whole thing. And that's why I said men are so important in this narrative, because they're the ones that are like telling the women, like the question that was posed earlier, instead of asking that question, they're telling you, you have value, step up, take that place. That's what my husband tells me all the time, take your place. You know, nobody has one value over the other because of their gender. I mean, I don't think just imagine somebody didn't hire me as their portfolio consultant, even though I had much more knowledge, experience, and aptitude for it, and they hired a man instead because he knows about finance. You know what I mean? So the men are so important in this narrative that if the woman has something to bring to the table and a vision and a passion and talent, that they promote that within their circle. And they do that now in the NFT groups and in our meetups and in the Bored Ape Ladies chat. I think, and my husband supporting my journey and constantly pushing me to be uncomfortable. Most of the speeches that I give have been to men. Until recently, half of them were women at the last one. So men are very important in this.
Absolutely, of course, of course. We'll take a question right here. Oh, samo second. Možemo. Hvala. We'll take one more question, and I got my eye on you. Don't worry, I got you, girl. Hvala.
Thank you very much. For the first question, I think it was pretty stupid, because unique value proposition of women is that you are actually existing over here. But my question to you goes, if we would create more leaders, the CEOs in the companies that are women, you could actually, you know, control the whole game. I talked to Tanja just before the event about this, and I said, you know, one of the biggest problems is, as the other CEOs are seeing it, well, you're going to be a mom, and then you will lose a year and a half, and then you're going to be a mom again. I mean, I think that's totally wrong. So we need to, or you ladies tell me, how should we encourage every other CEO and guys like that, you know, to start treating women differently in this kind of a way? Should we go to the governments and just, you know, create a fund to support women, or just you tell me what to do? Here are a bunch of men who would really like to help, but you need to tell us what should we do.
Aleksa, please.
Yeah, so that's a really great question, right? Like, and you brought up some really great points. And I would start by saying, like, you know, stop asking women in the interviews whether they're planning to get married soon and get pregnant, right? Like, how many kids they want to have in the future. Because, like, those are not the questions that you would actually ask a male candidate, right? So the issue there is the education, right? It's not it's not men's fault they're brought up in a way they are, and to see the women the way they are. Right, but but I do believe that the responsibility on men, it is actually the responsibility on the men to educate themselves and to understand the gaps, the gender gaps that we have nowadays. And it's a fact that you have that in the leadership roles, you have a lot less women than you have men. Well, why? I mean, there is, like, again, the lack of representation of actually women in companies, in the industries in general, right? So with that, automatically you have a lot smaller pool of potential candidates for those leadership roles. Then, well, you know, women get pregnant, they get married, you know, maybe they decide to take a year more to take care of the kids, right? So, well, that's a gap that we need to fill. So it's a lot better if we hired a man. Right? But no one is actually talking about how can you actually support the woman while she's pregnant, right? So what are the workplace conditions that you can give her in order to support her being a leader and a mom to be at the same time, right? Like, what happens? Why do men do not have, like, in majority of places, they do not have the option to stay away from work when they become fathers, right? So why there is no equality in that sense for men, right? So the society gives certain roles to genders, right? Like, no questions asked. And with that, of course, like the industry, the work jobs follow that badly represented gender inequality that we are facing today. what men can do? Well, try to actually understand the fact that women are less represented, that they are underpaid, right? So I've been talking to loads of men in my environment, right? Like, no, that's not the case. That's not true that women are underpaid or less paid than men. Like, I don't see them having fewer rights than men. I mean, in the modern society, when you look at it at a high level, no, I mean, we have the right to vote, right? Like, imagine that. We can go to school, great for us. We can get a job, fantastic, right? That changed, right? Those are the normal things, but the women had to fight to get that, right? Like, and men see only what's today, but they do not understand what happened in the past and what women had to do in order to be where they are today. I would say, like, educate your coworkers, right? Like your teams, that if you see that there is that a woman is badly treated on the workplace, right? So talk to that male teammate and say, like, hey, what's up, right? Like, is there any issue? Why are you treating her like? Why not? Right? So women are usually told, like, okay, so you will sexually harassed. Well, you better do not say that, because everyone's going to be talking about that in the office, right? Or or you might not get the next job. Like, if someone says that, if someone hears that you're actually accused of someone harassing you, right? So women are usually a lot silenced. And they're not allowed to speak up. They're not allowed to speak up about their rights, about their safety, about what they can do. They usually have to prove themselves a lot more, right? You brought up an excellent point, right? That women are overachievers. They do a lot more. They try a lot more. Yeah, of course they have to, because they're working a lot more to just try to be on some equal level as the men are today, right? True. If they were here the same, more or less, if a woman overdid and overtried, like, she would be somewhere around here, but she's not. She's still leveling up with a man. So that is the issue, right? Like, install the workplace culture that is supportive of both men and women equally when it comes to pay, when it comes to behavior, when it comes to attention, when it comes to abilities, when it comes to access to a variety of courses, additional education, right? So if you see a female coworker that she is able to, for example, she can do more, she knows more, she's better at this and that, like, give her the ability to advocate, to go on an extra course or something, right? So that's how you have more women feel supported and involved. And of course, like, the other male teammates see that.
Thank you so much for that question and that answer. Superheroes, I know that some of you guys are getting up, but within the next 5 minutes, the Tomorrow Conference has something really, really special planned out for everyone here. So if you guys can hear me back in the exhibition, we welcome you to join the stage. As we wrap this up, we're going to take one final question from a female. And we will wrap it up with Tanja, who is going to, under 1 minute, if you can, please, to answer under 1 minute, if you can.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, yeah. Before actually posing a question, I will just sharpen the discourse a little bit. So I would add up on what Aleksa was saying. And this is the basically notion that we are using in product design, and it's called mental model. And in order to change the mental model, it's not only the, let's say, the wish or the idea or design needed, but the whole infrastructure. And what we were speaking here, we were speaking about the space, because the mental model that male space occupies for 2,000 plus years is that male is a public space and female is a private space. With Web 2, we had a big shift in the notion of space, and this space expanded by blending the private and public into Web 2. Now we are approaching the Web 3, and this space is going to be even more blended, and not only like, let's say, dominantly gendered, but probably multi-gendered. So this discourse needs to happen. Okay, that's the wrap-up. But now the question, I'm really interested in what are the resources for the female empowerment in the coming space?
Thank you so much for that. And I have production team because we have something super prepared. I'm going to answer that question. All of us are going to answer this question on LinkedIn because for timing purposes, I'm sorry. Yes, I know we're going to wrap this up right now. So we're going to answer that question in full depth because I think that conversation is more important. So thank you so much for posing that. Thank you for everyone who is intuitively listening and perhaps having your mindset shift a little bit further to bridge that gap even closer. And please have me join with me in applauding these wonderful women for sharing their talents today. Thank you so, so much. This way.
Okay.
This way, yeah. Thank you. That was so good. That was